Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Denton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey. The Moms I Know is your go-to source for motivation, inspiration, and resources, and real conversation about motherhood and parenting with intention. Thank you for being a part of our community. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
The modern human lives in a cesspool of man-made electromagnetic radiation. So that's from Steve McGee.
Welcome to the Moms I Know, and welcome Wendy Myers. Thank you so much. And interesting, that's a favorite quote of yours, and that's a daunting quote to think what we're dealing with. But I love the fact that you have solutions for us. So today, I'd like to start with reading your bio, but I really appreciate you being with us here today. So Wendy Myers, the founder of MyersDetox.com, heavy metal detox expert and functional diagnostic nutritionist, #1 best-selling author of Limitless Energy, How to Detox Toxic Metals to End Exhaustion and Chronic Fatigue. Wendy hosts the Myers Detox podcast about all things related to detoxification. She's passionate about educating people on the importance of detox to live a long and disease-free life. She created the revolutionary Myers Detox Protocol and Mitochondria Detox programs after working with thousands of clients around the world. And Wendy has also been co-hosting the Coronavirus Summit series with lots of other experts in the fields to help us deal with all of the challenges that we are faced with today. So Wendy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we wanted to start with finding out a little bit more about your background, your story. How did you come to this field of expertise?
Well, I've been studying, health my whole life and started dealing with some health struggles after having a baby. Like a lot of women are dealing with trouble losing weight and brain fog and sleep issues and hormone imbalance. And I just felt terrible, a year after having my child. And I decided to go to the doctor, figure out what was going on with me. I just said, just do all the tests, figure out what's wrong. And the doctor found out I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37. I had thyroid dysfunction. I just had a number of, nutrient deficiencies and all this stuff going on. And I just thought, how is this possible? I take perfect care of myself. I eat the amazing diet, cook all my own food. It's all organic. It's mostly plant-based. I do, I exercise 6 to 8 hours a week. I don't have any stress, at least so I thought. And what's going on? Like, why don't I feel good? And the doctor wanted to put me on hormone replacement therapy, which I thought, that 37, that's not really how I envisioned my life at that time. And so I wanted to figure out what's going on. Like, why do I have low hormones? And I went on Dr. Google and started figuring out that mercury and lead and cadmium and heavy metals and chemicals can be a huge part of hormone imbalance and interfering in hormones and thyroid stress and sex hormones like estrogen and testosterone. And so that just set me on this path to start researching this more and just open up this whole Pandora's box of how toxins, including EMFs and heavy metals and chemicals, all dramatically impact your health and every different organ system in the body. It's just amazing. So I published all my research on MyersDetox.com.
So that is such a common story. I'm sorry for your story, but I also am just amazed at the research that you've done, and you've turned your life and your health around. It's a story we hear all the time, these moms coming to us with all of those symptoms. And then when they start doing this research, discovering all of this. And so you also talked about EMF. Can you talk a little bit more about what that stands for and where that is coming from?
Yeah, EMFs are electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic radiation from wireless internet, from your computer, from your cell phone signal, from the 5G towers and now 5G satellites going up to give service to people who aren't near a 5G tower. So it's, people all over the world and developing countries, et cetera. And so this is going to be definitely something people need to be paying attention to if they care about their health, if they experience symptoms and they can't find an underlying root cause. And so it's just something that it's another toxin that affects our body's health. And the research shows it affects so many different systems. It can cause cancers. It causes increased permeability of the blood-brain barrier, so toxins can get over easy. It can cause, malignant and benign brain tumors. This is shown in the research. It can affect reproductive health, fertility. It can actually rupture brain cells. It can heat them up. It affects sugar being taken up into cells, including the brain cells. It causes sleep disruption. It reduces melatonin production, which you need to, for sleep. It causes thyroid dysfunction. It can contribute to Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. This is serious stuff. And there are thousands of research studies that prove everything that I'm saying. You can just very easily go on PubMed and type in EMF or EMR for electromagnetic radiation. It's a big issue, and it's something that people aren't really paying attention to. When people are trying to get healthy, they're focusing on diet and exercise and sleep and supplements and things like that. But if you feel like you have all those boxes checked, you may want to also then graduate to that next level where you are looking at EMF and how to mitigate that in your home and protect you and your family's bodies from the effects of EMF, because it will be a growing concern. There's more, increased, the signals are becoming more harsh with the 5G that's out. It's like the signal is more frequent and more intense. And so that will affect your body even more. There's going to be 20,000 5G satellites by the year 2020, I think it's 21 or 22, in the environment. Elon Musk owns Starlink. Bill Gates is involved with SoftBank, where they're all, launching all these satellites. There's 60 a month going up right now, but that's going to increase to 20,000. So it's going to blanket the earth in EMFs. And so there's just going to be a lot of people presenting with symptoms, going to their doctor, and not really getting to the underlying root cause. So you need to pay attention to this.
It's daunting indeed. We've also, Sheila and I were talking before we started recording about, just what we're seeing with schooling now and how all of our children, and Sheila, do you want to talk to this a little bit?
Yeah, well, with what you just said, what can we do to alleviate? It's like I have the Defender pad. I make sure the smart meter is out on the garage, or, what can we do some practical things so that we're not leading with fear, because that's all that I'm just trying to make sure as we're buying a house, making sure there's no towers around, but then is that for naught because the satellites, and stuff like that. What do you say to, what do you say to yourself?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. And I don't mean to be freak people out or something. This is just a reality, and you have just awareness will motivate people to act. And so, exactly. But there's a lot of things that you can do. Okay. And there's also a spectrum of sensitivity. Some people are not bothered by EMFs and some people are debilitated. So it's there's a whole, same thing with heavy metals. Some people are just aren't bothered by them as much, and some people are very debilitated by them. So so it's not going to affect everybody the same. So I just want people to have awareness around that. But if you do not feel well, you want to look at this. So the things that you can do at home, I have a Defender Shield too. I've got my laptop right now sitting on top of one to absorb radiation from the computer. Distance is key. So by having your home wireless router as far away from your body as possible is great. So distance is key, not having your cell phone by your head at night, charging, probably not the best idea. And we're finding that even airplane mode isn't enough. You want to turn your cell phone off at night. If you want to have it near your body at night, you want to for whatever reason, it's your alarm clock or what have you, it's better to just turn it off. Airplane mode isn't as good now, but it's better to just have it as far away from you possible. Charging it can emit some dirty electricity that's coming out of it that can affect you, so better to just charge it in another room. And then there's also, like, for Wi-Fi routers, there's some you can get that turn off automatically when you're not using them. So the signal would only be on when it's in use. That's really, really helpful as well. And but you can also, if you don't have that, you can put a timer on it where it's just kind of going off when your whole family goes to bed, and then it turns on automatically when people are waking up and starting to use their electronics and whatnot. And also some other things that you can do, don't have your cell phone in your pocket right next to your body. Distance is better if you can at least have, even an inch away is better than having it right on your body. Distance dramatically reduces the strength of the signal. But if you can't, if you have to put your cell phone in your pocket, put it on airplane mode if you can. And there's lots of devices out there people can buy to reduce EMF exposure. I mean, there's stickers you can put on your phone. I have a sticker on my phone. I do various things, around my home. Like I've got this plug-in from Therasage. It helps to reduce the EMF in your entire home, and it also reduces the dirty electricity exposure as well that you can get from, like, all the wires in your walls and all of your electronic appliances. That's called a TheraProtect, and it's just a little plug-in thing, and it works fantastic. But even if you kind of create this whole cocoon in your home where you have, done the work to kind of figure out where you have EMF exposures from different appliances, or you're moving the router, you turn the router off at night. There's other issues whereby your neighbors all have wireless routers, especially if you live in an apartment building, where if you leave your home, this nice, healthy environment you've created at your office, you still have issues there when you're walking around at the shopping mall or what have you. So I have this worked in conjunction with a colleague of mine to create this Harmony pendant. And so this is something you wear on your body, and it goes with you everywhere. Because like a cell phone sticker protects your cell phone. The Defender Shield under your computer protects, with your computer. But you want something that's, I think it's ideal to have something on your person to protect everywhere that you go. And this has some studies behind it that show it reduces EMF about 50 to 88%. It's not 100%. There's nothing that's 100%. But every little bit counts. Everything that you do to kind of mitigate it, all those things add up to improving the amount of protection that your body has. So these are on harmonypendant.com. So this is something that I've been wearing for about 3 years and absolutely love it. So those are the top things that I recommend to help reduce EMF. There's lots of things that you can do. I've got lots of info on MyersDetox.com for just further, but those are very basic things. And then from there, you can graduate going on to other things. But that's what I'd recommend to try to reduce EMF exposure on your body.
Yeah, and I've done like everything you've mentioned. I've been aware of that because I'm a nutritionist as well. And so when you say graduate, does that mean where it's like you're asking like the building, the EMF, like building people, for example, they're coming in and they're going to look at your house completely, and that's like graduate, you mean in cost and everything like that, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's just, there's like a learning curve to all this stuff. And so, there's other things that people can do. Like there's mats that people can lay on that will kind of clean off the EMF off your body. I can't believe it's escaping me right now, the name. But there's a mat that you can lay on that helps to wash all the EMF off your body.
Bioresonance or something like that. Is that part of it? Or I don't know.
Or Pure Wave. You had mentioned.
Yeah, the Pure Wave, but yeah, that's it. The Pure Wave mat. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that can help to clean off all the EMF electricity off your body. But there's things like that. But the first step you want to do is, take some minor measures, less expensive measures to protect your body. The Harmony pen is very, very economical thing you can do until you can figure out all this stuff. I mean, there's a learning curve. If you can get like a tri-field meter and go around your house. It's like $170. You can go around your house and figure out where do you have EMF exposures that perhaps you weren't aware of. So you have to identify the exposures before you can kind of deal with them, correct? And you don't have to hire a building biologist and have them come in your home. That's really expensive. You can certainly do that. That's certainly an option. But you can also do this stuff yourself. But there's simple, inexpensive things you can do to begin until you're ready to kind of up the ante and go to that next level. Because for me, even though I knew about EMF for years and years and years, it was just kind of like last on the list until I got to all these other things. So I like to give people simple, actionable things until they're ready or they have the time or money to kind of go to that next level.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's like I've been there, and then what happened, I'll tell my own experience, I've gotten tired. Because it feels like when you just said the satellites, like how am I going to win? I mean, how am I going to win? And I have teenagers. I have, who when they were little, I'm so grateful. I did not have an iPhone or anything. So I paid attention to them. Right. And so I get worried about just seeing three children, and there's 7 years between the oldest and the youngest. How much exposure my youngest has already had compared to my oldest. And just that, it's tiring. My kids know they check in their phone. They don't wear it on their body. They have their Q-Link, like those sorts of things, but yet they're going to get tired of it. Like how do we sustain for the long haul? Because EMFs are not going away. And what do you tell yourself? And as a mom, like, what do you, as Maria said, when the kids they're all doing distant learning, there's not defender pads for everybody, and how do we do that as moms?
Well, it's not an easy answer. I mean, all that you can do is try to limit screen time for your kids, which is healthy for their brains anyways, to, do like just play by themselves. What a concept. Play by themselves. So that's a very important part of development. And so you have to limit screen time because their bodies are much more sensitive to EMFs than adults are. But I think part of children growing up in an EMF-rich environment, they probably will have more adaptation to it. Not everyone is different, but I think growing up in that, your body naturally adapts. I'm not saying that that's healthy, but that is human beings adapt to their environment. So I think there's probably going to be some aspect of that in there, but you have to limit screen time. You have to try, at some point identify high EMF levels in your environment. Sometimes it's really surprising. Like I went into I was doing something in some office and looking for sources of EMF, and they found like this backup lighting system. Just a backup lighting system was emitting huge amounts of radiation onto the office, and they had no idea. And so there's little things like this that you might just, have some computer terminal you don't use and it just happens to be on, or the TV has like a Bluetooth signal it's constantly sending out that you never use, or just there's certain things that you can identify in your environment to reduce your exposure. But there isn't any easy answer, and there's going to be more and more tools for EMF coming out. I mean, you can also do aluminum painting on your roof. I mean, I did that to a back house that I had, where I did aluminum painting. It was more for insulation, but aluminum deflects EMF also. So there's, it depends on how far you want to go, but there are things that you can do. You can, coat your whole house in tinfoil.
Well, we've been talking about this feeling of overwhelm. And, like moms that we've been talking with are overwhelmed with, COVID-19, we're overwhelmed with the pace of life. We're overwhelmed with the toxins, that trying to feed our children healthfully, trying to meditate and take care of ourselves, and all of these things. And this just adds that additional level. But I remember even several decades ago being aware of like lead and mercury and trying to make sure my children were protected from all of that. And we built our house with non-toxic materials. And then I have my daughter is pretty sensitive, and then some friends. And so hearing these things and learning them, and just, yes, this sense of overwhelm. And, I'm hearing more and more people waking up to, just the concerns about 5G. And obviously we have, climate change is a huge impending, we're already in the midst of it. And so, sometimes when we're talking about limiting screen time, when we've got these huge looming disasters, but Sheila and I always go back to that. It's these simple things that you can do with your children. Make sure you're getting enough rest. Make sure you're eating well. Make sure you're spending time outside. One of the things that I love is that the antidote for screen time is nature, and all the myriad shades of green. And so, these are common sense things that we've been trying to implement and trying to encourage people. And yet, and then along comes this virus where, now every child around the world is being plunked in front of a computer. So, we talk about educating ourselves as parents to take care of ourselves and then take care of our children. So you've given us so many solutions already, and we haven't even talked about, the heavy metals, because I know, we have so many learning challenges that are happening. We see that the children are dealing with a huge range of things that even several decades ago we weren't dealing with. And so we have this cumulative assault, I guess. Obviously we can avoid certain things, but then if you could say tips, something that we as moms can do to make a difference. You've given us so many, but I'd say, what is your top one or two thing right now?
For mothers to do with their children?
Yes.
Yes. Like I mentioned, limiting screen time is really, really huge, just because children's brains, number one, they need to have playtime for their brains to develop. The playtime is a very, very important part of their brains developing. Also, the screen time, especially if it's later in the evening after sundown, that blue light stimulates their brain. It makes their brain think that it's 12 noon, high noon. And it reduces cortisol, reduces melatonin production. It increases cortisol production. And those two things interfere in sleep. They're very, very stimulating. And so I think children, a lot of children today are going, are not going to have enough, really restorative sleep time so that their bodies can regenerate, their brains can regenerate if they are looking at a screen after sundown. It's really a huge problem. So it's not just the EMF exposure they're getting. It's really that blue light is really a huge toxin. Light bulbs are also a concern because they emit this blue light from most of the LED bulbs that are out that most people have. I just prefer a regular tungsten old school bulb. Are much, much better for children. You can even get like red ones that are kind of just not emitting any blue light at all. They just have a red light they're emitting. So that's something to think about in your child's bedroom and to reduce screen time, especially after dark. There's also, if you can't or you don't want to, or your kid's screaming about it or whatever, you can get like these orange glasses that block blue light, so that require kids wear those if they're looking at the screen. I think that's very simple measures that you can take to help foster really, truly regenerative, restorative sleep. Because it doesn't matter if your eyes are just closed. You have to be getting the most out of that sleep possible. And I think that's a concept that I think escapes a lot of people.
Yes, thank you so much. Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think when you say that concept escapes a lot of people, and I think that's the thing, is like people, they think normal is waking up in the middle of the night. They think normal is the headaches or something like that, just because they've had them for so long. And it's like, until you start taking a look at your surroundings, you can realize that there's pollution. I love the work that you're doing with detox, but I have a question about detox in the sense that how often should people detox, and then how old, like, we don't really want kids to detox, naturally, but what do you say for that question? Like how often and at what age should, if you're not doing a I know there's the issues specifically for like children with vaccine injury and stuff like that, but
Yes. Yeah. So I think you should be doing daily detox. I don't think it's something that you want to be doing seasonally or once a year. I think that heavy metals and chemicals are they play such a huge role in interfering in every different organ system in the body that it's something that needs to be paid paramount attention to. I think it's a huge missing piece of the puzzle in most people's health issues and missing in their health regimes, where people are paying a lot of attention to diet and reducing carbs and exercising and all this stuff. But I know friends and family that are just dropping left and right from cancer that are taking impeccable care of themselves. I mean, it's just people are getting cancers at younger ages, and it's because of the toxins in our environment, not because of their lifestyle, how they've taken care of themselves. And even with the chronic health issues, diabetes, the number one primary cause of diabetes is not diet, it is toxins. Iron toxicity, arsenic toxicity, and other heavy metals contribute to that. Hypertension, lead and cadmium toxicity are the main contributing factors. Heart disease, a hardening of the arteries, cadmium toxicity is a huge contributing factor to that. Any kind of health issues, mitochondrial diseases, like cancer is a mitochondrial disease. Mitochondria have heavy metals that poison them. Arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, cesium. So it's one of these things that it is really people, if they really want to live a long, healthy, disease-free life, medication and symptom-free, you have to be paying attention to toxins, and it's not something you do once a year. And children can detox as well. I mean, kids today are being born with a lot of toxins in them. This is shown in the research. Mothers pass on their toxins to their kids. The more mercury fillings they have, the more mercury is in the child's body. But it's just a fact of life. But children, I don't really give them supplements or do any types of protocols with them. My approach is just trying to get the body to work better. There's a lot of ways that our body isn't working to release toxins. And so I'm more about first foundationally getting a child or a parent's body working better so that it can optimally release toxins. And once that happens, then you can go and take things that might get rid of your particular metals that you have. But when working with children, I use like a bioenergetic type program that just facilitates and improves how their body is detoxing already. And it's very simple for children to do. There's not any weird tasting supplements or detox stuff. So I don't really want to give children a bunch of supplements or detox products. So I just give them these kind of they're called infoceuticals. We do like a scan on their body, see kind of where they have energetic blocks in their body, and give them these infoceutical waters that have information imprinted on them that helps their body function better. It's very inexpensive and very easy for children to do, even babies. And so that's how I prefer to work with children, and it works amazing. I know there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, no. I mean,
it's just another can of worms.
Right.
And then be careful what you ask.
But then, it comes back to educating ourselves and then finding these things out. I mean, even I just recently had, my hormones tested, and I haven't gotten the results yet. But, here I am decades later looking at, things that I should have been looking at in my teens, my 20s, my 30s. But, we do what we can. I wanted to ask a little bit about, in terms of, your mentors and where you have gotten some of your, your information and places that people can go in addition. I mean, obviously we'll ask you about, how people can get in touch with you, but some of the mentors that you've had, if you could share a little bit about them.
Yes. Yeah. So one of my big mentors is Dr. Bruce Jones. He's our medical director of our detox program. He's done years and years of research. He's a, clinical physician for 35 years and became incredibly depressed and figured out it was lead and mercury toxicity. And so he focused all of his research and work on that and has extensively shared that with me so I can share it to the world. And, he also had a daughter that had severe mercury poisoning, his wife as well. And it just, and he realized in his research how much it really impacts, so many people, in so many different ways. And I want to bring awareness to people about that. But other mentors have been Morley Robbins, who's the Root Cause Protocol, helping me learn about, iron toxicity and copper toxicity and zinc and this really intricate role that they play together, and how most people are iron toxic, and that's a big contributor to dementia, and how to get it out of your body. Also, Harry Massey, he owns a company called Ness Health, and he's an expert in bioenergetics. His company is really at the forefront of technology and software when it comes to assessing people's bodies energetically, and looking at, really very quickly assessing about 500 different data points in the body in a second, and being able to just gather a tremendous amount of information very easily, and using energy medicine to improve the body's functioning. Because I think a lot of people don't realize we have a physical functioning body, but the body's energy field around it is what's governing the communication and governing the functioning of the physical body. So it's much easier to assess and work within that energy field to have a better functioning physical body. And so for me, that's just been my focus with working with people that can't detox, like they're really sick and they know they need to detox. They have heavy metals on their tests, but they just can't. They can't eat more than 5 foods, or they can't take supplements, or they get sick every time they leave their house. You have to be able to work with people, and going back to this root cause kind of issue, which is the energy field has blockages in it. It's not functioning properly, and releasing that. And EMFs interfere in the body's functioning energetically. They disrupt. We have these non-native frequencies that disrupt the frequencies that your body is emitting. Your heart emits waves. You have brain waves. There's a lot of ways your body works electrically and energetically, and EMS dramatically interfere in that. So we can kind of assess that and reverse that process working with the body energetically. So it's kind of a simplified explanation, but I think the field of bioenergetics is fascinating, and I think it's really the medicine of the future.
I love that you're talking about it, because I do too. I've gone back into education, but I'm a GAPS practitioner, nutritionist, and when I was seeing people coming in and doing exactly what you said and not realizing it's energy, and so I think that's where the future of medicine is, microbiome as well as energy.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that, they exhaust everything physically they can do. They do the diet and the supplements. And they go to different doctors, do all these different protocols, and just do all these different things. They just kind of exhaust what they can do physically to help themselves. That's, and that's really a point where I think people might be more open to trying bioenergetics, so they're just desperate. But I think anyone and everyone can benefit from doing an assessment of their body energetically and seeing where there's malfunctioning. And it's just it's something that I think people need to be more open to. I think people can kind of resist because they think it's woo-woo, but there's a tremendous amount of research. If you go on PubMed and type in bioenergetics, there is a tremendous amount of research, thousands of studies that are going on. And we've proven that the heart emits a frequency 10 feet around in diameter. There's a lot of research. It's not woo-woo. It's definitely been proven in EU. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, I work with thousands of people. We've had 3,000 people work with us doing bioenergetics, and the results are just unbelievable. And these are people that nothing else was working with them, because you have to that's the root cause. You have to work at the genesis of the problem, which originates in the body's energy field.
It's so hopeful. That's what I love about it. It's hopeful. So thank you for sharing.
And easy and simple.
Yeah. And then I think to what Maria said, the antidote, it's outside nature, like nature, like that's something they can do right now in a sense to feel the hope. I think is get outside with our children.
I'm so glad you both brought it back to this point, because, I was sitting here at a certain point going, oh my gosh, feeling that overwhelm, but just ending with this hope for the future, and that these challenges that we are facing right now are extreme, and yet we have this hope, we have this vision through all of these different modalities for changing the trajectory and changing our own health, starting with ourselves, starting with our families. And so we really appreciate you taking this time today, Wendy, to share this information, so much incredible cutting edge information. I'm sure our listeners are going to want to know how to get a hold of you. So can you tell us what's the best way to do that?
Yes, you can go to MyersDetox.com, and I have over 300 free podcasts, hundreds of free articles that you can maybe feel overwhelmed going to my site looking. But, you have to take things one day at a time. I urge people to not feel overwhelmed. Rome was not built in a day. You just kind of have to assess for yourself what's the lowest hanging fruit and start kind of learning about that, whether that's for you as EMF or your diet or detoxification. You just take things one step at a time and figure out what for you is the priority that you need to work on. But I have tons of resources on MyersDetox.com to help with that. And if you want to try the Harmony Pendant, this is HarmonyPendant.com, and lots of, informative videos on there as well.
Great. Thank you so much for all of your information today. We really appreciate it, and so excited about the work that you're doing. So thank you for being with us today. Any last things that either you or Sheila want to say?
Thank you. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, and if you also, I did the coronavirus support series that you spoke on, Maria. Mm-hmm. So if you can go to coronavirussupportseries.com, and it's not anything about health so much. It's just about how to deal with the stress of lockdown, how to deal with the stress of what's going on. There's tons and tons of tools to help people manage that for themselves and their family.
Yes, it's an amazing series. So thank you so mumuch for you and Dr. Zielinski for putting that together. So thank you again, Wendy. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today for the Moms I Know. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To get the show notes and resources mentioned in today's episode, visit themomsiknow.com. For information on Maria's programs, visit thefutureoffamily.com. And for information on Sheila's programs, visit purplebeetfamily.com. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and follow us on Instagram at The Moms I Know Podcast. Until next time, have a joyful family journey.